everyone. Welcome back to as. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another one of the videos as Silver last time referred to as. Welcome back to another episode of Redux Reviews slash a re-uploaded video, at least for Pictures of Horror 1. Tonight we'll be reviewing the 1982 classic John Carpenter's The Thing.
Salutations, my Venus Film Fanatics. Silver Screen here, and yes, as previously mentioned, we are doing a redux review of 1982's The Thing, a remake directed by John Carpenter based on the 1951 film The Thing from Another World.
But before actually that came along, let's go even further back. That's right. The Thing actually originally didn't start off as a classic film. It originally started off as a science fiction novel written by, I believe, John Campbell Jr. and was published in 1938. And the title of this classic story was actually originally called Who Goes There?
A very, very strange title, but given that it's one in such a classic movie as this, I really can't blame Mr. Campbell for actually trying.
Yep. But yeah, as Silver previously mentioned, before John Carpenter's version, there was actually an original 1951 version directed by classic director Howard Hawks.
And honestly, if we go into every single version of the thing, including the 50s version, this one, and the prequel that came out in 2011, which is also called The Thing, we'd be here forever. So for now, we're just going to stick to John Carpenter's cult classic, which surprisingly actually bombed the box office back in 1982.
Oh. But yeah, ever since then, though, John Carpenter's The Thing has remained an absolute classic. And has also been at least considered by, I believe, many people, the best adaptation of the classic story in general. Anyway, let's jump straight into John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. This film stars the legendary Kurt Russell, who also appeared in that other classic John Carpenter film as well, another classic John Carpenter film called Escape from New York, and also actually Big Trouble in Little China, and even just many other great films in general, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Guardians Volume 2, just to name a few. And I think let's also mention another classic actor, if you know what I'm talking about, Silver.
Honestly, there are so many actors in this film, it would be hard to mention many others, but Keith David comes to mind, who I mostly know for voicing Spawn in this titular animated series.
That's right, and also in the Mortal Kombat 11 DLC pack. And with all that out of the line, the plot of John Carpenter's The Thing is about a group of researchers pretty much stranded out in the freezing Arctic, in the middle of nowhere, pretty much.
Yep.
And unfortunately, though, they are being stalked by something, they're trying not to make a lame pun, but something out of this world. An unknown organism, to be exact, really.
But for simplicity's sake, let's just refer to our mysterious alien life form as the titular thing, to make it easy.
Yep. The Thing can shapeshift, or I should say take the form of any living organism at once. You name it, birds, dogs, and even humans themselves.
And in the book, the creature was also telepathic.
Yep, but in this version, though, it's not.
No. However, it can mimic a basic life forms down into whatever is necessary, from vocal patterns to little ticks it's given off. However, it has been established in every adaptation that it can't replicate inorganic materials like jewelry.
Also, another great thing, though, that I love about this film, and what I think also stands out about this classic story, is the location. It is another one of those films that is really good at keeping in one place, in one place in general. Because what also makes it so scary is that it's set in one of the few places on planet Earth in general that barely any life forms, if you even hang out at all. If you like,
that being the Arctic.
Yeah, which is, if you go there, I'm telling you right now, basically you're not going to find anyone. Once you're there, you're pretty much all there on your own. That's what. And speaking of, this film I also feel like is about situation, if you know, about trauma and stress, because I feel like the film is all the characters are getting stressed out at times, very kind of even you can see it in their eyes, scared or confused because they don't know what the heck is going on. All they know is that slowly, one by one, members of their crew have been very brutally killed by something out of this world, and they can't explain what it is or how or what it's even there for.
Not to mention that one of my favorite things about this movie is that you can actually feel the cold of the Arctic as you go through all 2 hours of it. I mean, seriously, this movie actually sends shivers down my spine to this day.
Yeah, actually, even as I was watching it not too long ago again, I even had a few shivers myself, like, because, as I said before, this film was about situation, right? It puts you in a state of mind on, like, pretty much saying, if you were in their shoes, what the heck would you do? How would you get out of it?
Simple. I'd blow out the base.
Yep. And what I also like is that they did. It's not as well not one of those horror films where, at least near the last few minutes, they actually show you, like, all of the creature, if you know what I mean. This film, this creature doesn't really have a specific identity per se, because it just kind of hops around mysteriously, you know, every now and then.
So basically, this life form is it, not to be confused with Pennywise.
Yeah. Also, it just builds a great, but just the location itself, I almost feel like is another character.
Mm-hmm.
Because deep down inside, the characters as well, they even almost look like they want to get out of there and escape from it themselves, but deep down inside, they know that nothing or no one else or nothing else is out there, and their camp pretty much is the only safe sort of place they've got. So they've got to stick to what they have, and that's really realistic, because sometimes when you're in those situations and you want to get out of it, but deep down inside you know you can't get out of it, and there's only one way of possibly getting out of it, then yeah, it's so relatable, but at the same time so scary and realistic, and that's what I like about the thing. And I feel like John Carpenter really does capture that very well. What do you think, Silver?
I agree. Speaking of characters, though, let's actually bring some of them up. And let's start off with, let's face it, the best character in the entire movie. One R.J. McCready, a.k.a. Mac, played by the legendary Kurt Russell. And honestly, Mac, to me, is Kurt Russell's entire career in a nutshell. Just playing the cool, calm, collected badass.
Oh, yeah. What I like about his character as well is that, yes, you can tell he's kind of getting worried and a bit
paranoid
himself, but deep down inside, he still always tries his very best to figure out on how to handle a situation and handle it quick before it gets way too out of hand. And so what I'm trying to say is he's one of those people where if he hears about a problem or he sees a problem happening as well, he's going to do everything he can to pretty much extinguish it.
Mm-hmm.
And to deal with it with any way he knows how. And at times, you know what I like as well? The more he stays there, and even just the characters in general, I almost forgot to say this is all about the location, but after a while, I even feel like specifically Mac, some of his crew members even look at him and talk to him like, are you mad? Like, what are you doing and everything? And you're crazy. He probably even feels like he's going crazy himself, but yet he feels like what he's doing is, at this point, very necessary, and that's very relatable too. Because it's almost hard to believe what's the actual thing and what's not the actual thing.
Except for the other crazy person in the room, which would be Blair, played by Wilford Brimley. And honestly, he starts out as one of the more mature members of the group, but eventually he goes into a bit of cuckoo town.
Anyway, the next thing I would like to move on to is the VFX. what I love about the effects, even, I know it's still the 80s, but to me, to this very day, they still hold up very dang well, because it looks so realistic and painful, but also very artistic in a way.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you on that. The effects themselves were done by one Rob Bottin, who, believe it or not, at the time, was only either 17 or 22 years old.
Even 17? That's even more impressive.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, what the hell am I doing with my life? If a guy like Rob Bottin can do makeup effects like that at 22, what the hell am I doing? Oh, yeah, that's right, reviewing his work.
But anyway, still just... What I actually also like about the effects is why I think it's so realistic, because just, seeing the skin, like, kind of stretch, and even the bones or whatever kind of stretch out of some of the members, eyeballs or faces or stomachs or everything, just even looking at it, just, so painful and gory and realistic.
Which does bring me to my favorite example of Bottin's work in this movie, the Carpenter's take on the chestburster scene. Where when Copper, the medic at the station's hands are bitten down by the thing in his teeth, they actually used a double amputee for that scene, which I actually thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Not only that, but like when I said as well, the effects are very artistic. Like, they're very creative and artistic. Like, for example, the guy, when his head falls off, it turns into kind of a spider-like creature.
Mm-hmm. This basically shows that the thing will do any part of the thing, any living part of it. Hell, even down to a single drop of blood, will do anything it can to survive. And that's essentially what the thing is doing. It's trying to survive if amongst all of these killers.
Yeah, seriously, if there's like one little dime of this thing still around, it's coming back.
Mm-hmm. Which is always essential. Which is why the essential weapon by killing the thing is a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
Or if that doesn't help, a stick of dynamite wouldn't help.
Yep. And as far as I'm concerned, that's really all I have to say about the film.
That does bring me to the next thing I want to talk about. The score, done by the legendary Ennio Morricone, who also did the theme music for The One, The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly.
Oh.
And honestly, his heart-thumping soundtrack, it gets you into the sort of a suspicious feeling. Particularly whenever you're playing a game of Among Us online, because that really helps set the mood.
Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, that was our review of John Carpenter's The Thing. One quick thing I might want to quickly mention, though, since you also did mention a bit of the 50s version of the thing, just to give you an idea, though, if you guys are curious about the prequel, honestly, I recommend you don't bother, because I've even seen some of the effects from the film itself and everything, and just the movie in general, and boy, it sucks. I can see why some people don't like it. Because the effects on like the original look so fake as hell. They look like something out of a video game, and yeah, still, what I'm trying to say is, it butchers it. Don't even watch it. In fact, pretend it doesn't even exist.
Yeah. Bottom line, the 50s version is not worth it, and the prequel just blah. All in all, I give John Carpenter as The Thing a perfect 10 out of 10, because what can I say? There's not much you can do like such a perfectly good movie.
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing is suspenseful, realistic, and artistic at the same time, and I love it so much to this very day. So I would at least rate it an 8 out of 10. Well done science fiction, yet sort of its own unique taste of a classic story. And John Carpenter really kicks it out of the park. But on that, I'll see you guys later.